So I first heard about 826 LA probably in 2005 or 826. At that point, somebody just told me some vague story about a store in San Francisco that sold pirate supplies, which got my attention. And also, there was a writing center in the back. Now, I'd worked for a lot of not-for-profits, mostly museums, other kinds of educational institutions. And a couple years later, I went to a conference, a museum conference, and I saw somebody speak from the organization, and I was blown away. I thought to myself, you know, the education sector really isn't a hotbed of innovation, based on my experience at that time. And I thought, you know, here's an organization that's really flipping the model upside down, looking at kids not just as consumers, but kids as makers, and really trying to empower them. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about the organization itself. I want to talk to you all about what I do, because I think you might be interested in doing what I do. LA is the largest branch. There are branches of 826 in Detroit, Boston, Chicago, New York, DC. Of course, in LA we have the Time Travel Mart. Nationwide, I think they serve 32,000 kids. So pretty amazing, pretty large scope. Today I want to talk to you about one of the classic 826 field trips. There's lots of things you can do at 826. There's after-school tutoring. There's evening tutoring. There's in-school programs where you actually go to schools. There's field trips where the classes come to 826 and you conduct a field trip with them. There are workshops that happen on weekends, on evenings, and you can also shop at the Time Travel Mart, because all the proceeds from the Time Travel Mart go to 826. So there's lots of ways to support. There's lots of ways to get involved. The number one qualification to be involved in 826 is you have to be enthusiastic, and you have to be able to engage with people. So if you can be enthusiastic, you can engage with people, maybe this is a place for you. So anyway, I want to talk about this book, because in a few minutes I'm going to invite my friend to come up on stage, and we are going to perform this for you. But I want to talk to you a little bit about this workshop, this field trip. Basically what happens is the kids come early in the morning. There are a number of roles that you can perform as a volunteer. You can be a storyteller, you can be Mr. or Mrs. Barnacle, you can be an illustrator, you can be a typist, you can be a note taker or a brainstormer. Now, storyteller is kind of simple. It's the facilitator. It's the person who makes sure that you know, at the end of the day, we get a product. I should also say that the goal of this 3-hour workshop is to produce 20 to 30, depending on the number of kids, original books, publish them with illustration. That happens in 3 hours. So we're talking the Project Runway of writing with kids. This is truly a make-it-work experience. So I mentioned the storyteller. Mr. and Mrs. Barnacle, one of the things that makes this experience unusual is that there are fictional characters involved in the event. So Mr. and Mrs. Barnacle or one or the other is either is a volunteer who is in the loft above the space where the kids are. So the only experience that the kids have of Mr. and Mrs. Barnacle is through a couple amps that are down in the space. So I play Mr. Barnacle sometimes, so you're up there basically listening to everything going on, and you check in with the students and the storyteller. The shtick is the storyteller has screwed up and has written horrible books, and Mr. Barnacle, who is the publisher, is going to fire the storyteller. So the storyteller is up in front of these kids going, will you help me write 30 books before noon, because otherwise I'm going to get fired by this grumpy boss. Basically, in that period of time, in that 3-hour period of time, you group write a book. That's the first 3 pages of the book. Then at the end, the 3rd page ends in a cliffhanger, and the kids write their own original ending. Then they go to lunch for a half hour, and we all scramble around and make these books. And every kid walks out with a book with their own photo, and there's about the author. So it's really, like I say, a kind of Project Runway, make it work moment. I would also say that the staff and all the support people at 826 are amazing and incredibly helpful. So question you might be asking yourself, you know, yeah, it's great to help kids and all that stuff, but what do I get out of it? Well, I would say a couple things. If you are in the creative business at all, like if you are involved in running creative meetings, or if you're involved in running boring meetings, and you want your meetings to be more interesting, this is a really good place to earn your chops. It's a very dynamic environment. You have to engage directly with people all the time. I would also say if you are a comedian or an actor or in improv, that this is the ultimate yes and experience. You know, early on I learned that, you know, as a volunteer initially I thought, oh, wait, I don't want to screw it up. I got to make sure that it's a good story and, you know, I have to pick the right ideas. And then very soon you realize you just have to let go. And whatever comes out of that kid's mouth is what it is. You know? And it's this kind of freedom. And the kids love it. As soon as they figure that out, it's like this wave of energy. You can kind of feel it. And they suddenly realize, oh my gosh, these adults are taking us seriously and they're listening to what we have to say. Let's see. Couple things that this kind of volunteering would help with would be things like time management, idea generation, meeting facilitation, listening. Really have to listen. With that, I would encourage you to talk to people in the back of the room. Go to the website, 826la.org. Go to the Time Travel Mart. Check it out. It's a really amazing place. It's an amazing asset to our city. And it's been a really great experience for me to be a part of it. It's in Echo Park. There's actually 2 locations in LA. One in Echo Park and one in Mar Vista. They're both time travel marts. I don't know if there is a time portal that can take you back and forth between the 2. I wish there was, because if there was, it would really help out with traffic. I mean, I would probably use 826 to commute to the west side. So with that, I would like to invite a dear friend of mine. Maybe you've seen her on a show called The Howard Stern Show, or on a little show called America's Got Talent. I would like to ask Miss Rachel Butera to please join me on stage. Written by Miss Vargas's 3rd grade class and published by Barnacle and Barnacle Publishing. We are very, very pleased to present It's cheese that's missing. Once upon a time, there lived a fat, shape-shifting hamster named Joey Ferguson. He was 9 years old, 20 feet tall, but don't worry, he could shrink. His brown short fur was always styled in a cool mohawk. He had a flat black nose and super long whiskers. Long, sharp teeth pointed down to the earth. Joey Ferguson loved wearing overalls and enormous shoes. He would never leave home without his jetpack. Joey Ferguson lived in a giant hole in an apartment of a New York City skyscraper, on the 1,000th floor to be exact. All this shapeshifter wanted to do was eat cheese. One day, Joey looked in the New York Times and saw an article that read, "All cheese gone missing! Oh! Mamma mia!" Joey gasped. He called up his good friend Lindy Tanks, the turkey lady, using his handy-dandy walkie-talkie. Being such good friends, they had their own language called Zingo-Ima. "Hey, Lindy Tanks, have you heard of this cheese shortage?" Joey asked in Zingo.
"An evil guy is destroying all the cheese. He goes by the name Diamond Face."
Lindy replied.
"How do you know this?"
asked Joey.
"He's my little brother."
Lindy confessed sadly.
He shrunk all the cheese of the world in a little box. Oh, and now it's drifting in the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh, no!
Screamed Joey. Joey had it. He dropped the walkie-talkie, opened the window, and transformed. Boo! He was a pterodactyl. Of course, he kept his mohawk, overalls, and jetpack. First, he had to get Lindy, who lived a mile uptown. Flying over the ocean, Lindy and Joey spotted Diamond Face. Sitting on top of his box of cheese, trying to destroy the cheese with a sparkling diamond hammer. Diamond Face tried to laugh maniacally. But it came out something like this. His entire body was a diamond in a suit, with pockets filled of red diamonds.
Oh, it's on!
Joey yelled. He turned on his pump-up music on his iPhone 6.
Oh, it's on, baby. It's on in 2 seconds. 3 seconds, it's on. On the iPhone, pumped up. Here it comes.
It's coming.
Any second now. Italian stallion, anyway.
It was a mashup of Taylor Swift, Mozart, and Michael Jackson. He swooped down in his pterodactyl form and... Ooh! He turned into a shark. Swooped under the box and put the box on his back and turned into a kite and flew away.
They all lived.
And Lindy Tanks and Diamond Face had a long talk and became friends. There you live, happily ever after.